Welcome everyone to the both in the room and online to Planning and Investment Committee meeting today. I'm Kate Taylor, the chair. I'd like everybody to stand please for our opening karakia. Whakatagataho ki te uru, whakatagataho ki te taonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā tautara ki tai, e mihi aki ana, te atatura, e tio, e lupa, e hauhu, Ti hei Mondona. Thank you. We've got our Pokaranaki online today. It's noting that Gerard has to leave at 12. Councillor Moynihan has to leave at lunchtime. We've got apologies from Ameria. Councillor Nipiapatu, would somebody like to move that we accept that apology? Councillor Annan, seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? No. Any declarations of conflict of interest today, bearing in mind that you can bring those up at any stage of the meeting? Standing orders, there's no need to suspend the orders for today's meeting. So we go to the confirmation of minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of April as circulated be confirmed as true and correct. Any questions about those, or would somebody like to move that they be accepted? Moynihan, Councillor Annan, would you like to speak? Remember that one today. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Thank you. Resolution monitoring report is our first decision report today.
Good morning, councillors. This is just your standard resolutions monitoring report, recording all the resolutions from the previous committees and the status assigned against it.
Main two there, the Central Hawke's Bay District Library Strategy and the Russell Park Master Plan. Any questions? Councillor Annan.
Yeah, just one question around the Russell Park Master Plan. We had to sort of discuss that once we'd socialise it with our stakeholders, that we would look to maybe have a regular catch-up meeting with them. Just wondering if there was any further thought on that in planning for that.
Through you, Chair. We haven't yet locked in any dates, but we're certainly Mr. Marshall is considering that, and we'll be in touch with you and anyone else who wants to be involved in that conversation. But yeah, it's on our radar.
Thank you. Any other questions? Somebody like to move that the committee receives and notes the resolution monitoring report? Councillor Byrne, Deputy Mayor Greer, all those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. We now have deliberation and adoption of waste management and minimisation plan. Mr. Hon, sorry, I didn't see you over there. Mr. Hon, Mr. Convict.
Morning, Chair. Morning, Co-Chair. Mayor Bill Povey, Deputy Mayor, councillors and advisors. Today I'm here to present a decision paper to recommend the adoption of the amended WMP. This work is a combination of 18 months of effort with officers taking the council laws through completing all the necessary procedural processes in line with our legislation. Throughout the public consultation process, we have heard back from the public via written submissions and oral submissions. During the hearings, we noted particular interest in a specific request from Titai Tumu Trust, requesting a letter of support for external government grants to explore the feasibility of an organics hub. In line with that, we have taken the opportunity to add this as a recommendation to the paper. We've also worked hard to balance some of the quite specific suggestions we got through the written submissions process and the oral submissions process, and into what is like a high-level directive, strategic direction setting document. And we believe we've captured those key themes. In the final version of the amended WMP, we have refined the document and we've added the following. We've added three new actions. First is advocating and influencing local, regional, and national policy changes that drive more waste diversion and prevention. That will work for our community. We noted that that is quite a specific request from our submitters, so we've added that as a part of the action plan. We've also included upskilling our knowledge base around carbon emissions from waste. That would hopefully assist us to make future climate adaptation decisions. And that was also aligned with one of her submissions. We've added a new action allowing council to tap into waste levy funding to support waste diversion services, like our recycling, in times of unexpected budget constraints. That allows us to maintain and lock in the momentum we have for waste diversion with our communities. We've also looked at refining some of the existing actions with specific wordings on waste and litter prevention. Also recognize we have to move up the waste hierarchy, so to speak. Rather than focusing on service, let's start looking at waste prevention in the first place. We've also added specific wording in our action plan around the needs of rural communities and the agriculture sector, who have different demands and also different challenges. By adopting this amended WMP, the district will now have a fit for purpose WMP that builds on the foundations of the last plan. It looks at optimizing our services to try to find cost-effective solutions. It's one that will invest into the future infrastructure, if it makes sense. It's a pragmatic approach, and it also starts enabling those partnerships with our talented community members, regional partners, contractors, mana whenua, other agencies, and other councils on waste-related matters. Take the paper as read and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hon. Any questions, please? Councillor Moynihan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just in the report, reduced district source waste to landfill from 440 kilos to 360 kilos per person per year, not 2031. Firstly, so when they work that kilo out per person, does that include commercial industrial waste and household waste for to get those kilos?
Through you, Chair, that we've worked that number out based on what we're getting at the landfill. So it does cut across all of it, but only for in-district source waste. So waste that comes from our district.
Right, because I had another question on that. Yeah, right. Thank you. You've answered it.
Just through you, Chair, by doing it that way, it enables us to measure it accurately because we know what the population is, we know what the tonnage is, so we actually can, it's a meaningful measure.
Yeah.
Question, Councillor Moynihan. Any other questions? Councillor Annan? Oh, sorry, Annan, sorry.
Mine is around the forward. In the beginning of the document, I see there that we've got Mark Kinberg as Group Manager rather than the CEO. Was there any reason why our committee chair wasn't the one fronting this in the forward? I'm just thinking, using our committee structures and allowing other pieces of work to flow through different elected members. Was there any reason for that?
Through you, Chair, we were referencing the older WMP, which had that the mayor and the CEO. At the time when we were writing this, we were in a situation we had an interim CEO. So we've decided to adjust that. However, we are quite happy to revisit this forward. Or not, as the case may be. And we would be looking at maybe including a proper CEO if once that happens.
I mean, my only thought is a council creates committee structures to take the pressure off, you know, one or two specific people. Yeah, so I don't know, it would be my suggestion that you would absolutely lean into that committee structure and that should go where that leadership lies, is where my thoughts are. And we didn't do that enough, I don't think, in the last training. We could do a bit more to spread the load of the leadership side of things.
Thank you, councillor Ann, and I do know Mr. McLeod was not sitting in the seat when we started going through this, and appreciate the thought of that going forward. I don't think this needs to be changed, but I think the point needs to be noted and to use us going forward like that. Thank you, councillor Ann, and councillor Byrne.
Yeah, I just want to, it's a question, so, but I want to thank you, Mr. Hon, for all the work that's gone into this. It's been, a long time coming, and it obviously reflects, you know, where we are now. I'm just wondering how this is going to feed into the long-term plan. What's the next steps?
Through you, Chair. Once this is adopted, then it allows us to work on the action plan. You probably see a lot more of me from that point onwards. We will be looking first off the ranks and connecting with the LTP would be to look at how we can optimize our waste services. It's one of the key things we want to progress quite quickly. We're also going to look at considering the decisions around the landfill and what we'll do post 2030. So my intention is to tie all those in as part of this plan.
Councillor Moynihan.
Yes, just the last one. I just saw in the report, which is quite good, that a lot of funding actions will be funded by central government waste levy funding. Because in the past, my understanding was that waste levy funding returns had a relatively narrow criteria you could do. So the question was, has this changed, this funding changed? Has it been broadened or changed? Because I could see in there, we're going to fund like concept design work, transfer station improvements, establishment of a zero waste hub, etc. I think in the past the criteria didn't cover that, but I could be wrong. Could you just say if it's been broadened?
Through you, Chair. So we're a bit more mature with the criteria, and the changes with the waste levy incrementally increasing has ensured that we get a bigger slice of the pie, so to speak.
Yes.
So we have more resources to throw into those actions.
That's good.
Thank you. Any further questions, or would someone like to move the recommendations?
I do have one more question.
Yes.
Just wondering, obviously, community partnerships and initiatives are a really big part of the advocacy space, but also showing leadership in the space. Just wanting to make sure that you are confident that initiatives like the State Highway Cleanup, our participation in Keep New Zealand Beautiful Week, our Second Hand Sunday, all those sorts of things are absolutely going to be viewed as important through all of this. And this will ensure that those sorts of things continue for the next 10 years.
Through you, Chair. Those specific points are included as part of our litter management and litter prevention advocacy. In short, yes.
I'd like to move the recommendations. Councillor Moynihan, second. Councillor Byrne, would you like to speak? Councillor Moynihan?
Yeah, I'll just have a quick summary here. Well done. Good detail. We'd like to see that we're using up that levy from the government. Saves tax ratepayer, not taxpayer, ratepayer. And I just think it provides flexibility to respond to our ever evolving challenges. And then it's also got our legislative requirements that we have to do and reflects our community feedback, which so that was well done. And it also allows major waste related decisions to be considered through our long-term plan process, where it can be assessed alongside with our other council priorities. So well done. Not finished speaking.
And I'd like to support that, and I think actually sometimes council's seen as inflexible, but it's nice to see that we've reviewed, we've listened to people. They're looking for affordable means, but we still want to focus on being waste free Central Hawke's Bay. And yeah, I think thank you to the solid waste team. We have supported you through this process. So great work, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? I would. I'd just like to add thanks as well to the team for putting this together, and to those who submitted. It definitely brings a more human touch when people submit to this, come in and speak to their submissions. So thank you to those who were willing to do that. Right of reply, Councillor Moynihan. Oh, sorry, I'll just read them out. Beg your pardon. That the Planning and Investment Committee notes the amendments made to the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 2631 following submissions, revokes the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 2019 and adopts the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 2631. Directs officers to make the amended Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 2631 publicly available following adoption, and authorises officers to provide a letter of support to Tai Timu Trust for funding applications to investigate the feasibility of an organics processing plant, noting this supports exploration of waste minimisation initiatives consistent with the WMMP. Reply, Councillor Moynihan.
Oh, I just like to add, that's quite funny. I always see waste-free CHP. And I know we're trying to drop what goes into our landfill, but then on this term of it all, we need to have waste going into our landfill to make it viable. So it's sort of a double-edged sword a little bit for me. But you're doing your best with it.
Definitely a double-edged sword. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Mr. Hon. Next one is the endorsement of the non-rateable income strategy on page 50. Mr. Chamberlain.
Good morning, councillors and chair. The paper that you have in front of you today is asking you to endorse the refresh of the non-rateable income funding framework. The framework was originally developed 7 years ago as part of the 2021 LTP, I think it was. We've been asked to look at this and bring a refresh. We workshopped it on the 7th of May and discussed the various components of it. The sense that I got from that meeting was that on the whole, most of the framework was still fit for purpose, but with some of the changing landscapes, there are some new items that needed to be added in terms of the work program. You'll see the strategy as an attachment, and down the bottom in the sort of peachy coloured areas, these are the initiatives that we're going to use to develop this to maximise our non-rateable income. And you'll see in there in the centre that there are a couple of things that we added post the workshop. So one of those is how do we better utilise our special funds post the transfer of the water assets and the repayment of some of the water debt, and also the reviewing our leasing strategy on some of our properties, and also doing a stock take of our properties and identifying if there are any that are surplus to requirement. So yeah, I think that that reflects what was discussed in the workshop. The other thing that I just wanted to bring to your attention is up the top. I had updated the vision from the 2021 version. That was based on picking some keywords out of the councillor priorities work that was done earlier in the year, and was obviously written prior to yesterday's strategic planning. So again, that might need tweaking following yesterday's discussion, but now, yeah, I'm asking for endorsement of the policy, or of the framework rather, and noting that there are additional work programs that need to come out of this that will then follow.
Any questions for Mr. Chamberlain? Councillor Moynihan.
Just one quick one. I see in the pros allows the work program on initiatives to be scheduled into the workflow.
Yes.
Very good. Just one area, because this is non-rateable funding, we're looking at ideas. So the question is it feasible for this council to look into installing solar panels on any of our major energy consuming facilities, such as indoor pool, wastewater treatment plants, libraries, or council offices? Just as when I was reading this, there was one area that was missing, where power is very expensive and charges. So I just saw the idea incorporated.
Yes, and in fact, some of that work is actually already happening. So we have installed solar panels onto the municipal theatre, for example, and some of our civil defence community hubs, and the civic theatre in Waipoporau. And we've been working through a process of getting some quotes for this particular building. So again, those are all things that are in train, and while not necessarily mentioned in here, can be added if you would like. So yeah, that is one way potentially of spending a little bit of cash up front to save in the long run.
Just to add on to that, because my brother's looking at it, solar panel, and at the moment they're doing deals with just individuals, like 1% charge, and he reckons he can pay it off in about 7 years what he uses. Is there any chance that it's been offered to councils, this type of deal from the banks?
Those subsidised low interest are normally to individuals rather than corporates. There potentially is the LGFA that we borrow through does do some sustainable loans, and so that gives a very small discount to the standard rate. So we could explore that if we were to move forward with putting solar panels on this building, for example.
Leanne.
It's so cool. Councillor Moynihan, yeah, and we're a Westpac customer and they're doing either 0%, so maybe it's worth a phone call. So maybe one of the keywords out that's missing out of the vision is the innovation aspects, because we have to do things with innovation over the next however many years to be able to get things done. So that's really exciting. My other question, no, that wasn't a question, that was a statement, and backing up that, my question is to our CE Performance Committee, that basically in the past this was sort of like a document that was quite big on putting into the KPIs of our CEO, just making sure that is that something that has been highlighted is going to be a part of a key priority of KPIs for the future of our CE, and the driving of this strategy, because it doesn't just happen on its own. It can, so that it lives past just being a document and actually is something that is actively worked within the business. Ollie?
Yeah, so the question around has anything been considered? So with the changeover of CEOs and interim, obviously that committee's been on hold, waiting until we get to this point of a confirmed permanent, and so that we can look off the process of setting up KPIs for our new CE and ongoing review with our new CE. So yeah, we'll take that on board in terms of putting that on your list.
Thank you, councillor Byrne.
Just down in the orange section where we've got partnerships and joint ventures, and we've got explore corporate sponsorship opportunities. We had TPW sit here and talk to us about their interest in possibility partnering with council. And I think we've missed our in here just partnering with Mana Whenua and iwi, and that is something that perhaps needs to be added into there, because TPW said they're very keen to engage and to partner with us. It just seems to be a missed opportunity. So my question is, can we please add it?
Just noted it, and I'll make sure that it gets inserted in there for you.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question. In the body of the report, you mention overview how council currently employs its land and building holdings, etc. I'm just wanting to check that in the, going back to the document, does that come under complete a stock take of current council activities returning non-rateable revenue?
So I've got in there complete a review of all council-owned properties, ensuring they are returning value to the ratepayer. And I was careful with my wording in terms of what I said there, because value to the ratepayer could be a commercial return, or it could be a community outcome that we're seeking. So
That bit that you just read out, could you tell me where it is, please?
it's the fourth peach coloured column along, and it's the top bullet point.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was looking in the first column.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Mayor Foley.
I just wondering, Mr. Chamberlain, whether you take that same approach with the investment strategy. So from a financial point of view, any returns of investments would need to be obviously above the rate of borrowing, the rate of rates increases, unless there's a considered community benefit, and then you might not take those factors into account, but just whether that needs to be considered in the same approach.
So the investment strategy forms part of the Treasury management policy, and that's going to be reviewed shortly by Bancorp as part of the work program leading up to the LTP. So we can certainly strengthen the wording in there to acknowledge that.
Any other questions? Or the recommendation that's on the table is that we endorse the refresh of the non-rateable income funding framework and note that the framework be used as an input into the development of the financial strategy for the 2027-2036 long-term plan. Do I have a mover? Councillor Annan, and a seconder? Mayor Foley, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I mean, this document has served us really well in the past, and I'm really confident that it will continue to serve us in the future. The framework that we're looking in is potentially changing, but I think we shouldn't ever drop the idea that we're not thinking outside of non-rates as an income for our community, but also being smart and efficient with what the things that we do have access to, the things that are in our hand to play, that we do that really, really well. So really excited to see how this plays out over the next 3 years. So thank you for the work on this.
Mayor Foley?
Thank you, Chair, and just back up those comments from Councillor Annan about the importance of this document and strategy as we sort of continue on this path of needing to look at every avenue about how to, I guess, extract more income from on things other than rates and ensuring that, particularly around our assets, that we are getting the best return of those and things like investments and solar panels and things that can provide us longer term benefits. So yeah, endorse this document.
I'd just like to say that I would look forward to seeing some of these coming through the Planning and Investment Committee, or even the delivery and performance as agenda items, as we see the strategy actually being used and coming to life as a living document, as it were. And thank you for your work with it. Any other comments? All right, so just noting that the recommendation says 2027-2036. We do not have a 9-year long-term plan. It is 2027-2037. All those, right of reply, Councillor Annan? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Going into the information report section, the first on the list is the LTP project status report from Ms. Harvey.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I'll take the report as read. Just the key achievements for the period as so far we have achieved 8 of the 16 deliverables, and that period was through the strategic planning phase, which finishes at the end of this month. We're well on track to complete another 5 before then, and then the 3 outstanding are the strategic direction, the grouping of activities, and starting the review of the performance framework. 2 of those things are very dependent on government mandates, so we're working through them. The delay in those at the moment aren't going to affect the overall program, so we're feeling quite comfortable with that. With the grouping of activities, there has been a draft release, so of 8 mandated activities. So we're going to probably start planning it based on those mandated activities. So it will we'll see some progress there, sort of within the next quarter. The key risk is still the central government reforms, and particularly simplifying local government, and not really knowing at the moment the impact of that on the LTP. And so I guess there's still a lot of uncertainties around what that means. So at this point, we feel that it's still really important to continue with the development of the LTP. It is still Council's strategic planning document, and any work done will not be lost no matter what the changes are, because we will still need to plan for delivery of our services into the future. So we just have to keep maintaining a watching brief and be really ready to be flexible and pivot if we need to throughout the process. We're not asking for any decisions for this report. It's just a recommendation only at this stage. And the next phase of work is the development phase, and that will be from July through to September. And there's quite a bit of work there to be done on reviewing the financial infrastructure strategies, a number of the policies that help inform the LTP. The staff are starting to progress work on the asset management plans and the activity management plans that's going to ramp up during that period. And one thing that we will be bringing back to council is we need to start talking about identification of significant topics for consultation. So that will be one of the key things in this next quarter that we will be looking at. The budget and everything is on track, and there's no issues obviously with audit at the moment. I have been liaising with our auditor, and we're meeting regularly on the LTP, so to keep up to date with anything that's happening. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Just one from me, the 8 mandated activities that have been proposed, sorry if I've misunderstood or missed this, but does that fit in, does that invoke some changes for us, or is it along the lines of what we?
Yeah, there are some changes that we will that Brent and the team will need to make, and particularly to the finance system of the way that the activities are grouped. There's a number of them are how we already grouped them, but there are some tweaks around the edges and some things that need to happen, which is a bit of work for them. That's why we want to start basically planning on those groups so that we're not, sort of rushing at the end to try and make those changes. So that we've agreed that we think that's the best way forward.
Are we likely to see large changes, or is it cosmetic or in between?
So a number of some of them are name changes, but the number of the activities are really similar to what we had them. The main changes are the emergency management and communications.
Yeah, so the main groupings is similar to what we've got now. So things like solid waste, except with a name change, roading, planning and regulatory, those types of activities, but they've added a new one, which is emergency management and climate resilience. I think was something similar to that. And then they've added this catch-all one at the bottom, which is called other. And that, from what I can see, it's a lot of the activities that councils across New Zealand do that central government has been talking about in the media that they consider non-core. So it's things like retirement housing, economic development,
Saving.
yeah, a lot of those sort of things. And included in this for the first time is the comms department, which has always traditionally been an overhead. They want it to be a reportable activity so that, and the idea of these reorganisations is that every council will have the same groupings, and then they'll be able to do some benchmarking between the different councils, and because we're all comparing apples with apples.
Thank you. I appreciate the extra added response there. Any other questions on the report? Yeah, well, is there any comment on the other amber in there is the elected member training priorities? And I think even though we're still working through those, what we did last night, there was no, page 58. There was no major changes there. I just note other process and content pieces dependent on having the strategic direction set. So we haven't given them a lot of extra work in that section.
You mean in terms of a different?
We haven't
different
completely
direction?
changed our strategic direction. Our training priorities are.
I think we've made good progress on that point. I guess a question on that though is, if we complete that work, does it sit there until LTP adoption, or could we adopt that earlier so that we're all clear and sort of just move?
So through the chair, it's important that that gets adopted sort of earlier in the LTP process, because that will form the direction of the LTP. And it is pleasing to see, I think, from where things were landed with the work that's been done already, that you're probably 80% there. We just need to do a little bit more work, and we want to keep that momentum up. So we're discussing we'll come back to you sort of very soon to continue that process so that we can get at the good strategic direction set. Planning hopefully to bring a report to set that in August would be ideal. So that's what we're aiming for.
Not changing as much as central government does. Any other questions on the report, Councillor Annan?
Around to the next step for the direction setting stuff and the work that we did last night. What is the next step?
In August?
So through the chair, through the chair, we as we did talk about finessing some of the words and things. So we'll work on that and we'll bring it back to, we may do it in another workshop, just to make sure that staff understand where you got to with that, and then all going well, early August, hopefully 6th of August, something like that. We'll a report to actually set that direction. But I feel that we need to do a bit more work on it yet with you to make sure that we've got it at a right place to be able to do that.
Someone like to move, something different here. One moment, please. Bring me lots of text boxes instead of scrolling. Would the committee receives the 2027-2037 long-term plan project status report dated the 18th of June 2026. Someone like to move and second that, please? Councillor Lawrence, because I'm looking at you. Deputy Mayor Greer, all those, would you like to speak? All those in favour, please say aye. Against. And the date of the next meeting. 20th of August 2026. Would someone like to move that? I second it. Would you like to speak? All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Time of closure 9:45. So we will now, yes, and leave online. Yep, thank you for those who have watched this short meeting online. We're just going to have a short break and possibly go into a workshop or a morning tea. So we'll just deal that. Thank you for watching.
Well, good, everybody. Welcome to Strategic Growth Subcommittee. We are live streaming this, and you may, we haven't started with the karakia, but we did start this morning with a karakia, and we will end later on after our workshops with a closing karakia. So welcome to everybody. Just a special note that this is a subcommittee. Not everybody's a voting member, but those that are non-voting members are definitely welcome here, and definitely welcome and encouraged to participate as you would in a council setting or a committee setting. We have an apology from Piri Powharanaki, and the media is also away today, even though she's not an official member of the subcommittee, but we want to acknowledge not being able to attend today. Do we have any declarations of conflicts of interest? I'm going to move from the chair, the apologies and the declarations.
I was going to second it.
And thank you. I'll have a seconder from Kate. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carries. Okay, so we're on to number 4, which is standing orders. And so basically the recommendation is that we suspend standing orders for the duration of this meeting. I will move that from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mugridge. Any disagree or agree? Carries. So we're going to the confirmation of minutes. So that was like back on the 10th of March, which was the first time that the subcommittee had met. Do we have any questions or changes relating to those minutes? Otherwise, I'll move that from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Greer. And everybody agrees. Yes, good. We got so we went to the information reports. So we're going to invite Mr. Mugridge to the table to talk about council's approach to housing for 2025 to 2028.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, at the start of the triennium, as part of the induction, we told you that we would be coming back to you in the first part of this year to talk about our approach with regard to housing. And so the purpose of today's discussion is exactly that. I'll take the report as read, but I do want to flag a few points in the report to introduce this. So at a high level, the report recognises that housing does remain a significant and ongoing issue for Central Hawke's Bay. And we know that the challenges are broad in that space around affordability, availability, suitability of housing, especially for older people and vulnerable people, and the broader capacity of our sector to respond. And these are not issues that council can solve alone. So the approach that is presented in the report reinforces what council's role has been in the past and should continue to be, which is around enabling, coordinating and partnering in order to reach good outcomes from a housing perspective. So what the report presents in terms of our approach is a two-level model for council to follow for this triennium. And the first component of that is a stronger local delivery model through the Tamatea Housing Task Force. The task force that has been established, or that was established approximately 2.5, 3 years ago, has played a really important role in building governance oversight around these issues, but also providing shared understanding and coordination across stakeholders who are involved in this type of work. What the report signals and presents essentially is shifting the work of the Tamatea Housing Task Force and implementation of the strategy that is contained, or the action plan that is contained in the Our Home strategy, to a more operationally focused delivery model, which moves it from that sort of governance and strategy development side of things towards implementation, action, and the ability to problem solve on the ground. A key part of enabling this shift is the recruitment of a community development officer. And you may recall that you set aside, as part of the Better Off funding allocation, some money towards housing. That money was put towards a coordination role for essentially enabling the work of the Tamatea Housing Task Force that was filled at the time by Ms. North. Ms. North evolved into a different position within council, and that role hasn't been filled since then. So what we are doing at the moment is essentially backfilling that role to support it to transition into this new operational group whose first task is really to have a good look at Our Home strategy, a good look at the action plan, make sure that it is still fit for purpose, but then really get into the nitty-gritty in terms of implementation of that action plan. And also it is a forum that will bring together all of the key stakeholders, including government agencies, to be able to operationalise essentially the action plan. The second component of the approach is continued participation in the Hawke's Bay Regional Housing Leadership Group. This is distinct from the local side of things, but it's very much related. What the regional group has done is provide a mechanism for strategy, advocacy, partnership, and alignment across the broader Hawke's Bay system. And we've just heard through workshop that the group has played a really pivotal role in terms of engaging with government, especially the government. We have heard pretty loud and clear these sorts of issues don't want to be engaging at a council by council level. They are very much keen to engage at a regional level. And again, you may recall that as part of the last triennium, a memorandum of understanding to participate in this housing leadership group at a regional level, which encompasses all of the territorial authorities in Hawke's Bay, but also significantly all of the PSGs and other iwi organisations to drive that work. What the regional work helps us to do is to make sure we are connected in terms of broader opportunities around funding, infrastructure planning, and delivery models that are difficult to progress in isolation. So I'll probably leave it at that, Madam Chair, just sort of reinforcing that two-pronged approach to approaching housing issues. As part of your report, we've provided you copies of the strategic housing framework, a copy of the Our Home strategy, which was owned by the Tamatea Housing Task Force, and a copy of the memorandum of understanding to refresh your memory, and for new councillors to get an understanding of what essentially the continuation of this work looks like. I'm happy to take questions.
Questions, councillor Monahan?
Yes, just one of the goals, increase social housing leadership. Advocating and supporting emergency, transitional and social housing. Now, can you just please, first, when we talk about housing, those developments we've got on River Terrace and Racecourse Road development, where do they class it? Are they?
Social.
So they are social, so they're not emergency, and they're not traditional. So telling me there then is the gap now going to be the emergency area, do you think? Or do we need still more housing in the social area?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, can I just check what you were quoting from, just so I've got a.
Oh, no, it was just here, yeah, on goal 1, page 18 of 63.
Right, so that's so you're referring to the strategic housing framework.
Yeah, that's right. But I was just saying in the current.
Yeah, so that council put in place in 2019 or 10 years' time. That was very much the focus of this is before my time, but very much the focus at the time. And obviously the strategy is quite based around that side of the housing spectrum. And I talk about the housing spectrum because what our home strategy focuses on is not just the social housing side of things, but also the broader suite of opportunities across housing. And that actually extends into the work that the Regional Housing Leadership Group is doing. Yes, there is a component around social housing because there are needs there, but it's very much looking at the broader opportunities from social housing to retirement type of housing to home ownership. So there isn't a that is not the priority of the work that we are doing now. We are doing now. It is broader than that, looking for various opportunities.
No, I was just trying to get it all out. If that's it. Yep. Right. Thank you.
Taylor?
Last time we did a deep dive, for one of a better term, on the retirement homes, there was discussion about a CHIP, the community housing provider, in the future. And it's not sort of anywhere in any of the housing stuff that we're looking at today. Is it still on the card, a possibility or a?
Through Madam Chair, that is something that we will probably get into the workshop session we've got this afternoon in a regional housing strategy. Because, so yes, it is still on the card, and part of the work that leadership group is looking at is the potential to establish a regional CHIP to deliver housing outcomes. Possibly isn't
Spelt out like CHIP.
Yeah, but that is very much one of the things that has been examined, and it's still true. Having had another look at the housing framework for Central Hawke's Bay that was approved in 2019, there was that notion of having a CHIP essentially operate at a district level. What the regional work is doing is looking at that, the possibility of that at a regional level, and it's not only in terms of the delivery of new housing, but also the management of existing housing.
Thank you.
Councillor Graham?
Thank you, Chair. Just on that focus area 1, there's a predicted 500 cumulative shortfall in homes. That was 2022. Have we got any later statistics on that?
Through Madam Chair, off the top of my head, I can't remember what was presented earlier in the workshop around the housing shortfall. But again, those are assumptions that are based at the time. So that was true back in 2019. I'm not sure exactly what the updated figure is, but that's probably a question to keep in mind for the session that Ms. Anstey is leading in workshop briefing a little bit later around housing demand.
And she could probably cover that in the, sorry, Chair, the 2,500 unbuilt sections in the pipeline. How accurate is that? How up to date is that?
I'm not sure exactly which page you're quoting from, but yeah, that's another question that will be traversed this afternoon.
Page 38.
Anstey.
Okay. Focus one, area one.
And so through Madam Chair, this strategy was adopted a couple of years ago, or 18 months, yeah, 2 years ago probably. So I'm not exactly sure if they are exact numbers, but they won't be too far away from that.
Okay.
Progress.
Yeah, similar.
Could you just explain, please, community development officer is being funded through Better Off funding? Is that a term role or is it ongoing? Because the Better Off funding would run out pretty quickly, I guess. And there's more to that. What does that person do on a daily basis? How do they fill in their day from 8 till 5?
So through you, Madam Chair, the role is indeed funded by Better Off funding, and that does conclude at the end of June next year. So it is a fixed term position at this point in time. Through the development of the long-term plan, there may be a continuation on the value of the ongoing value of that role. So that's something that we can traverse later. On a daily basis, Ms. Bousfield, I see has jumped up next to me there. But it's as described, it's very much a coordination role. The initial task that we foresee is having a good look at these strategy documents to make sure they are still fit for purpose. There is a transition that is required from the operation of this group from a more governance centric focus to a more operational focus centric, to be more operationally focused. They will be looking at the terms of reference for the group, but then really what we want is to make sure that there is momentum that is built to deliver on the actions that are contained in this strategy. And the role is part-time.
Part-time, 20 hours.
20 hours with the chair.
Councillor Monahan.
Just one last thing, just focus for supporting Maori aspirations for developing housing in Tamatea, CHP. It's always been a big thing. I'm just wondering how that's getting on. Is it developing? Is there any locks or how's that developing? Because I see it always there, but we've got an update how that's going.
Through Madam Chair, I'm not sure an update is the word that I can use, but the focus of the Tamatea Housing Task Force, it wasn't a council only led process. That was a council and especially Tai Whenua led process. The actions that are contained in here were obviously developed in partnership to be reflected in this action plan. But as was mentioned a little bit earlier, the work at a regional level is very much driven by, to a vast extent by PSGs, by iwi organisations. And so there is momentum that is there.
So it's regional.
Any further questions? I'm going to move this recommendation from the chair that the strategy Group committee receives the report titled Council Approach to Housing 2025-2026. What is it? 2026 training. Should probably be longer than here. It's in April. Endorses the approach of the 2025 to 2030 training, including the refocusing of the Tamatea Housing Task Force towards operational delivery and continued participation in the Hawke's Bay Regional Housing Leadership Group, and requests the officers report on progress, opportunities and any further decisions required to support the implementation. So I've moved that from the chair. Would anybody like to second that? Councillor Taylor. This morning when I reread this paper, and then I went for my walk, and at first I thought, I was sitting at my bench and I was thinking, I felt a little bit like bittersweet with it. But then I was like, actually, no. When I really started to think about it, I think this is a real success story, and a little bit like the district plan, how we can sometimes minimise things. we don't want to minimise this either. This has been a huge piece of work. And for those new people around the table, this was implemented from pretty much the bottom up. It was people on the ground that were telling us that housing was a real issue in Central Hawke's Bay. I don't know if you remember, but at the time there was newspaper articles of young people living with babies in woolsheds. There was no investment signalled for Central Hawke's Bay in the social housing space. We had nowhere for people to live in emergency space. We had Councillor Moynihan running around with a newspaper article, talking to every politician he possibly could, throwing it in their face and saying, hey, you need to be investing in our community. So in the absence of the leadership in this space for a very long time, council had to step into it because there were no other leaders. Kāinga Ora wasn't going to show up for us. Ministry of Housing and Urban Development was only just brand new and we're just trying to get themselves together. And so we had lots of emerging things. And so we pulled together a group of very key strategic people within our community. And most of these people were on the ground, cold face. They are the people that are dealing with people who were in housing need. And we asked them, is what we're seeing actually true? And they confirmed that for us, that yes, it was. It was over 4 meetings and it probably equated to over 150 people that came to those very specific meetings that we ran, that then helped us shape and frame up the housing task force, strategic paperwork, and those sorts of things. Thrive was also happening at the time as well. We were fully entrenched in the community wellbeing space, not just what council could do, but what, as a community, if we were hard out players in wellbeing in this community, in the absence of other players being there, what would we do? And so we realised that we had to elevate and highlight a number of things, and housing and then health became one of those things as well. We were hopeful in all of that work that with the leadership and of our government at the time, that with Three Waters going to be taken off of our books, we were getting better off funding, and we also had the future for local government work that was going on. So we were starting to reimagine, that's what we talked about yesterday, last night, Jerry, wasn't it? Reimagining what local government could actually do. And we recognised that the powerhouse that was in Central Hawke's Bay was that the council was really well connected to community, and so therefore we started to reimagine what council could look like in the wellbeing space. And that's why this amazing stuff happened. We started being real advocates. When I look at some of the things that we were able to accomplish through the Housing Task Force, is something we should be super, super proud of. We had no emergency housing, but we did end up with emergency housing, and that served us right through COVID. I mean, it was incredible. It wasn't ideal having hotels or motels full of emergency housing, but it was better than having people living on the street. We got significant investment from MHUD, who bought that place up by the old maternity annex. The Salvation Army invested here. We got the Heritonga Tai Whenua, who bought transitional houses and placed people. I think they ended up with about 16 of them. We ended up with 16 new houses next to no investment whatsoever, Councillor Moynihan, remember that? And then we ended up with 16 new social houses, which was just absolutely unheard of. And there was 2 that burnt down, and they actually replaced them. Like they've finished when I walk past them now. And then we also, in the Māori development space, we had Niki and the iwi build a lot of primary homes in Otani, and I know that they've got plans to do stuff here in Waipawa and significant investment over elsewhere. So the work that we did as a leadership in the leadership space and facilitation space was quite quiet, but it was very much needed. And so where I felt a little bit sad this morning, I thought, oh, we're going to move to a time now where we don't get to necessarily be a part of that. But I think it's actually really where we are as a season of council. We're in the stage where we've got all those things in place. We've got the success, we've got the networks, we've got the knowledge. Now we can move it into an operational space, which is really, really important. And we can use different non-ratable funding to be able to deliver on some of those outcomes. And then obviously our natural push and our natural focus for this season is going to be looking to our regional partners and how we can strengthen the work that we do and do that work through them with them up there. So, you know, it's quite interesting how even in a what was just an issue, one sort of issue, you can start to see the way that it is actually being journeyed and shaped and changed, and then now becomes fit for the season that we're in. So yeah, I'm happy to recommend this. I was a little bit sad about it at first because it means that the governance comes a little bit off, and we don't necessarily have those conversations on your behalf and things like that. However, I think that you've got some really key players around here that if operationally are meeting some of those roadblocks that we have done in the past, then to maybe potentially come back to us and get us involved, but you'll do that through your future reports. I wanted to thank you guys, Nick and Dills, for the work that you've done in this space to get it to where it is, and you actually really have changed people's lives as a result of this. People have homes, and we just continue that we hope that it will continue, and that CHB will be forever on the voice and on the table of our future advocates in this housing area. So happy to move that and hopefully have given a little bit of a background as to why this work was so important, but happy to now see it move to the next stage of operationalising it, and look forward to seeing where it goes. Rach?
Yeah, just I think it's important for us to be facilitators and enablers in this. We've got the better off funding. Councillor Margaret beat me to the question of that position, fixed term, it's not our funding, etc. When does it end? What will they do? I think it's important we don't do it ourselves, but as you said, strengthen the work of our regional partners. We've seen a lot of private stuff happening. One that springs to mind is Zach at Te Hauki, and others like social housing popping up in random places like River Terrace, where it came as a surprise. So I think us having our fingers in the pies and just knowing what's going on, doing what we can, helping where we can, knowing what we know, using the information we've got to help the housing issue, I think is good. So happy to second.
Just, I think, just a comment from me. I mean, I think I attended a couple of meetings of the task force in my old hat, but just to note, I think the importance of keeping this table informed through some regular reporting, but also the importance of using the people around this table in advocacy roles where that is timely and will be value. I don't think the staff are suggesting any move away from that, and I certainly absolutely back up the value of that approach.
You know, does anybody else want to say anything? So maybe for the writer reply to just sort of say that we've been here before. It's not the first time we've had the wellbeing stripped out of local government, but this is the first time we've had it stripped out and having a huge simplifying message, rates capping, as well as sadly the public sector being quite shriveled at the moment and not knowing where that's going at the moment, as well as social services have also had quite a lot of cuts. So I'm confident in society and communities that we will bounce back, and we will be able to, and leaders will emerge. But I think we have to think about that as we work out what the future representation of Central Hawke's Bay looks like. We need to make sure that we've got strong people in the seat, that when these issues emerge, that we've actually got people that will talk on our most vulnerable's behalf, which is what we've done really, really well. But we also have to think about how we actually cement that for the future in the face of all these amazing or huge changes. Anyway, so that's moved. Seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? What have we got on? Go to the next meeting. And we're back for the 13th of August, 2026. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, and all agree?
Aye.
And end of the meeting, live streaming stops at 12:23. Bye to anybody that was watching online.